afternoon, everyone. I request Professor Yogesh Singh, Sir, Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, to please come on the dais. I request Her Excellency Mrs. Anisa K. Mabega, High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, to please come on the dais. I request Shri Puneet R. Kundal, Sir, Additional Secretary, Eastern and Southern Africa, Ministry of External Affairs, to please come on the dais. I request Professor Shri Prakash Singh, Sir, Director, South Campus, University of Delhi, to please come on the dais. I request Professor Payal Magoo, Ma'am, Director, Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi, to please come on the dais. I request Professor Gajendra Singh, Sir, Head, Department of African Studies, to please come on the dais. Namaste. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Department of African Studies, I welcome you all for the inaugural ceremony of the two-day international conference on India-Africa relations, exploring new pathways and building the future together. The Department of African Studies welcomes Honorable Professor Yogesh Singh, Sir, Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, Her Excellency Mrs. Anisa K. Mabega, High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, Shri Puneet R. Kundal, Sir, Additional Secretary, Eastern and Southern Africa, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Professor Shri Prakash Singh, Sir, Director, South Campus, University of Delhi, Professor Payal Magoo, Ma'am, Director, Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi, Professor Gajendra Singh, Sir, Head, Department of African Studies, University of Delhi, all the dignitaries, representatives from embassies, principals, deans, faculties, research scholars, students, and other officials. Celebration of the university, its ethos and values is expressed through its Kulgeet. The University of Delhi Kulgeet will be sung by the Sargam Choir, the music for faculty of University of Delhi, conducted by their faculty. I request you all to please raise for the Kulgeet. Before commencing today's program, we will invoke the blessings of Almighty God by lighting the lamp. I request the Vice Chancellor, Sir, and other dignitaries of the dais to please proceed for lighting the lamp. Thank you. We begin our program with the felicitation of our honorable guests as a token of gratitude for their gracious presence. I invite Professor Jajendra Singh Sir to welcome the chief guest, Professor Yogesh Singh Sir, Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. We welcome Her Excellency Mrs. Anisa K. Mabega, High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, to express her gratitude. We greet Shri Puneet R. Kundal Sir, Additional Secretary, Eastern and Southern Africa, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. We welcome Professor Sri Prakash Singh Sir, Director, South Campus, University of Delhi. We greet Professor Payal Magoo Ma'am, Director, Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor Gajendra Singh Sir to deliver the welcome address. In the recent years, he has been popular among scholars and university fraternity. Our department is reaching new heights under his able leadership. Sir, I would like to request you to please address the audience.
Good afternoon to all of you. Namaste. Professor Yogesh Singh Ji, His Excellency Anisa K. Ambega, Shri Purit Kondal Ji, Shri Prakash Singh Ji, Payal Magoo Ji, आप सभी का डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ अफ्रीकन स्टडी की तरफ से मैं स्वागत करता हूँ. On the behalf of the Department of African Study, I would like to express my gratitude and warm welcome to our Chief Guest, Professor Yogesh Singh Ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, Keynote Speaker, His Excellency Anisa K. Ambega, High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, Shri Puneet R. Kundal Ji, Additional Secretary, Eastern and Southern Africa, Minister of External Affairs, Government of India. Our guest of honor, Professor Sri Prakash Singh Ji, Director, South Campus, University of Delhi, Professor Payal Magoo, Director, Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi, Deans, Head of Departments, Principals of Colleges, JR, Deputy Registrars, Assistant Registrars, Administrative Officers of various colleges, office staff, students from Music Department, Music and Fine Departments, dear scholars, students and media persons. The Department of African Studies has been organizing this international conference on India-Africa relations, exploring new pathway and building the future together, with an aim to offer platform to discuss and deliberate on India-Africa relations, African issues and African society, in the process generate new knowledge. The participants will get an opportunity to engage in insightful discussion and gain new perspective to broaden our understanding of India and Africa. I would like this opportunity to familiarize you all with the Department of African Studies, which was established in December 1954 by the personal initiative of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister of India, and was formally inaugurated on August 6, 1955, with the mandate to promote awareness about Africa. The department undertakes multidisciplinary teaching and research beside PhD program. The department offers MA in African Study, certificate and diploma course in Swahili language. University of Delhi is the only Indian university offering Swahili language course in whole India since its inception in 1955. The department plans to introduce postgraduate diploma in international trade with Africa. The department provides a forum for fostering mutual understanding, friendship and cooperation between people of India and Africa. The department extends beyond its primary function of acquisition and dissemination of knowledge to promote India-Africa relations. The department provides opportunity to research scholars to interact with different stakeholders, including policy makers, business community, and other foreign delegates. African Study Program is an area study program which involves multidisciplinary teaching and research. Apart from traditional classroom teaching, interactive pedagogy is pursued through student engagement in presentation, discussion, and other academic interactions. The department regularly organizes national and international level special lecture series to strengthen its research endeavors. National and international conferences are held to provide scholars a platform to deliver on the contemporary topics related to Africa. The department also publishes a biannual peer-reviewed academic journal dedicated to multidisciplinary research on Africa, known as Indian Journal of African Study. Once again, on the behalf of the department, I would like to thank all the distinguished guests for taking out time from their busy schedule and to be here with us and support us in all our endeavors. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are delighted to announce the long-standing tradition of the Department of African Studies of publishing our esteemed journal since 1982. Today, we proudly present the 25th volume of our journal. This publication expresses our department's commitment to intellectual discourse alongside initiatives such as, with great honor, I invite our esteemed guests to join us in unveiling the latest edition of our departmental journal. Thank you.
We feel honored to have with us the Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Yogesh Singh, Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Sir, you hardly need any introduction. You have made all of us proud of your distinguished work in numerous capacities. You are one of the most celebrated Vice Chancellors of India. Now, I'd like to request our Vice Chancellor, sir, to address the audience.
High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, Shri Puneet Kundalji, Additional Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Professor Shri Prakash Singh, Director, South Campus, University of Delhi, Professor Payal Mago, Director, Center of Open Learning, Professor Gajendra Singh, Head of the Department, Ambassador Kulong Vizang Bor, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of Republic of South Sudan, Mr. Lois Obeng, Deputy Head of Mission, Head of Chancery Ghana High Commission, His Excellency Dr. Nwaba Al-Bukhari, Ambassador, Embassy of Republic of Sudan, respected international and national delegates, other representatives of different embassies in India, respected deans, head of departments, principals from different colleges, my dear faculty members, invited guests, and my dear students and friends, good afternoon to all of you. Say good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of University of Delhi, I welcome you all in this international conference on India-Africa relations, exploring new pathways and building the future together. I would like to appreciate and thank Department of African Studies for organizing this international conference on very, very relevant and important topic. African Studies has a very dynamic leader like Professor Gajendra Singh, who is doing very well. And this international conference is the result of his hard work and vision for the department. I welcome Ambassador Anisha Kapuhi Bega, High Commissioner of Tanzania to India in University of Delhi, 100 years old premier institution of India. She is an alumna of Aligarh Muslim University and obtained her first degree from Aligarh Muslim University. So she is one of us, studied here, spent time in India, and she knows India very well. She is also an accomplished officer of foreign services and represented Tanzania in many countries and on many international platforms. I would also like to welcome Mr. Puneet Kundal, Additional Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, who is an outstanding officer of Indian Foreign Service. He also served as Ambassador of India to Republic of Tunisia, and he is an authority on India-Africa relations. So, as I said, this conference is on a very, very interesting topic. And the title, there are three parts of the title. First is India-Africa relations. Second is exploring new pathways. And third is building the future together. So if we combine all, then it becomes the title of this international conference. All three parts are equally important. If I take first one, India-Africa relations. Whenever, wherever we think about the India-Africa relationship, answer is, how are the relations? Very good, outstanding, excellent. We respect and trust each other. We respect and trust each other. Relations are very good. We also celebrate the inclusion of the African Union as a permanent member in G20 group. This has happened in India, on Indian soil, on the initiation of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. This was announced on September 9th September 2023 in Bharat Mandapam, and was a proud moment for India-Africa relations. This decision will not only strengthen G20, but also strengthen the voice of Global South. When India and Africa will work together, it will strengthen the humanity for the entire globe. Now, when we talk about the students' presence, we have at least 25,000 plus students studying in various higher education institutions of our country. Whenever we talk about the foreign students, most of the foreign students are from different countries of Africa. And Africa is also the home of 30 lakh people of Indian origin. It means we have relationships, we have trust and good feeling. when I was the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technological University. And you know, in Delhi Technological University, we admit good number of African students. Once, a group of African students came to my office. They were irritated. They were devastated. And the group said, "Sir, we have some issues, we want to discuss our issues with you." They were first-year students. It means India was very new to them. And they said, "Sir, teachers talk many times, most of the time, sometime in Hindi, and we don't understand. They use the proverbs in Hindi, we don't understand." Then I asked them, what is the solution? In a class of 60, 65 and 70 students, we can ask our teachers, please speak only in English. Do not use the local slangs and local things so that our international students will be able to understand. But then I again asked them, should we make separate section for you, for international students, so that you will not have any issue with the language? Although our medium of instruction is English, most of the time our teachers speak in English, but sometimes they use Hindi language, slangs and local things. Then immediately the reaction was, no, sir, we don't want that. We want to study with our students. With Indian students, we want to understand India, Indian culture, Indian language, Indian customs. We don't want separation. If this separation, then we would have studied in other countries. We have come here for specific purpose. We respect Indian traditions. Okay, then what is the solution? Yes, sir, you please request the teachers. Then they said, sir, food is also an issue. Because they were new, sir, food is also an issue, and we don't expect our country food here. Style of food also, taste of food is different. If we cook our food also, then also taste is slightly different. But what to do? You all are from different countries. It is very difficult for a university to arrange. And this food, I said, food is problem with Indian students also. They are also not happy with mess food. What to do about it? Jitne baithe aap mein bhi bahut sare log not happy with the food. It is very common. Don't worry, try to adjust. Because they were first year students. But the next year what I saw, you all will be surprised, in front of Delhi Technological University, in front of the gate of the Delhi Technological University, there are eating joints. And one eating joint is Chatora Chhokra. Chatora Chhokra. And I saw many students having chole bhature, international students, African students, having samosa, and having other, Indian snacks. Then I called some of them. Manka, now you are taking chola bhatura and samosa? Kehte, now sir, we are used to it, don't worry. Manka, we are used to it. Sir, wo ab Hindi bhi seekh gaye, koi no issues. No issues now. It means few months are required. That's why adaptability is the power of African students. Adaptability. We respect, appreciate that adaptability. We Indian students and Indians should also learn from them. Learn, because they don't want to create any issues here. They want to adjust. Please help them to adjust. They are not guests in our country, but they are our sons and daughters. This we have to understand. India is a country of humanity, values and virtues, and our motto, Dhyeya Vakya, is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which world has seen during G20 summit, One Earth, One Family, One Future. And many good changes and many good things are happening in India. India is changing at a very fast pace. I would like to share one incident yesterday happened. One international visitor came to my office, Zena Chung. She is the Global Cultural Ambassador, Indo-Korean Business Culture Center, South Korea. She visited my office. When she came, she said first, "Good afternoon, sir." Then immediately after that, she said, "Jai Shri Ram, sir." I was taken aback. She said, "Sir, Jai Shri Ram." Then I asked her, "Do you know who is Lord Ram?" But you know, before she replied, she saw the Murti of Hanuman in my room. She said, "Okay, Hanumanji is also here." She went there and touched the feet of Hanumanji also. Then I asked her, "Where did you learn these things?" She said, "No, sir. Last week I visited Ayodhya and had darshan of Ram Lala, Balak Ram." These words commonly we Indian people do not know. But an international visitor is coming to India, want to understand and strengthen the Indo-South Korea relationship. That is what is happening in our country, and it is a matter of pride to all of us. This is the impact of Indian culture and effect of New India on the entire world. As I have just said, good things are happening. India is now one of the top 5 investors in Africa with cumulative investment worth of $73.9 billion. Our interests are in Africa and their interests are in India. India is Africa's 3rd largest trading partner after European Union and China. Since 1960, India's prime ministers visited 76 times in Africa, and New Delhi received over 100 top African leaders in last 30-40 years, which is not easy. More than 100 top leaders of Africa. And Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi became Mahatma Gandhi through South Africa. Had he not gone to South Africa, he would not have become the global leader and Mahatma Gandhi. We are indebted to South Africa and people of South Africa to give us Gandhi. The thrust of India-Africa policy is to develop together as equals. You know, to develop together as equals. This as equal is very important. Whenever we talk about any international relationships with the entire world and now European countries and the Western world, equality we don't emphasize. But here, when we say as equals, we believe in this, that we want to develop together as equals. These are based on the Kampala principles, which are 10 core tenets articulated by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji during his address to Uganda's parliament in July 2018. The first 2 state the following. Out of 10, I would like to quote only first 2. He said, Honorable Prime Minister said, "Africa will be at the top of our priorities. Africa will be at the top of our priorities. We will continue to intensify and deepen our engagement with Africa." Second, our development partnership will be guided by African priorities. We will build as much local capacity and create many local priorities. Africa has always protected and supported interest of India. Big thanks to Africa and Africans. My dear friends, together, we will build a better world for everyone. So that we have to work together. And when we say we want to build a better world, meaning thereby world for compassion, world for humanity, word for acceptance, word for inclusion, trust, happiness, and respect. We don't want to conquer any country. India has never done it. It is not in our blood. It is not in our culture. It is not in our genes. But we want cordial, long-term, sustainable relationships. So I am confident that this conference will find new pathways for a better world and a happy future for everyone within the framework of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, one future. This is the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. This is the Indian knowledge system where we believe that world is a family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And now India is changing, becoming a very, very confident player in the world's scenarios, but that is only for humanity, only for helping others, only to make a peaceful, meaningful world for humanity. And I am hopeful that when the experts will discuss in Delhi University, some good recommendations will come out from this international conference and will provide a pathway for a better future. I am thankful for, again, Head of the Department, Professor Gajendra Singh, and Department of African Studies for organizing this conference on a very, very relevant and important topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking speech. Your speech always encourages us to move ahead and to do something more and better. Now, I'd like to invite Her Excellency Mrs. Anissa K. Mbega, High Commissioner, United Republic of Tanzania to India, to deliver the keynote address. Yes. She needs no introduction, but to familiarize everyone, she assumes her official duties in February 2022. Ambassador Anissa Mbega is a career diplomat who joined the Foreign Service in January 1999. She held various roles, including Assistant Director in the Africa Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Head of Chancellery at the Tanzania High Commission to Uganda, and Director of Diaspora and Engagement Opportunities at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation before joining India. Please, ma'am, you can proceed, yes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. Namaste. Professor Yogesh Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Professor Gajendra Singh, Head of African Department, University of Delhi. Shri Puneet Kundarji, Additional Secretary, Minister of External Affairs, Government of India. Professor Shri Prakash Singh, Director of South Campus, University of Delhi. Professor Payal Mago, Director Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi. Excellencies, ambassadors, and high commissioners present here, respected deans and heads of departments, college principals and teachers, administrative officers, dear students, invited guests. Good evening again, namaste. I'm grateful for inviting me here today to attend this conference and talk about India-Africa relations, exploring new ways, pathways, and building future together. This is a very important topic as it touches every aspect, part of our lives. I also wish to thank the University of Delhi, especially the Department of African Studies, for organizing this very important event, which is a platform for knowledge sharing, learning, exchanging of ideas, and building a common understanding on issues of mutual interest. This is my second time to attend such kind of conference. And before I proceed, let me just share a secret with you all. When the first time I came here, it was last year during the same type of event. And as soon as I finish speaking, giving my keynote address, then Professor Gajendra Singh, thank you so much for that. My appreciation goes to you. I remember he intimated to me after when we were having some snacks and bites, and then he said, "Excellence, I think it's the right time for you now to study PhD." And honestly, I was not planning right now. And I was like, I haven't thought about it. And he said, no. I think this is the right time, and we'll be ready, more than ready to give you this chance. And if you are ready, please, you may proceed. That's how I started the process. And I'm happy to Shri Puneet Kundarji for accepting my request, because I had to ask the Minister of External Affairs for permission to proceed, and no objection letter. So I finalized everything, and I'm very happy now to announce that I'm the new student, PhD student in African Studies. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vice Chancellor, Professor G. Thank you so much, Professor Gajendra, and everybody who was part and parcel of this journey. And I'm praying that I will finish my PhD and become a part of the alumni from Delhi University. Thank you so much. After having said that, let me go back to our topic of discussion and proceed with my keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, the relations between India and Africa is a historical one, as you all know. Many decades ago, this relationship started, and it has continued to flourish day by day. The connection is deep-rooted in political, culture, trade, especially through the Indian Ocean. Ancient traders from India used to trade commodities such as cloth, wheat, rice, honey, and others, and bring back from Africa products such as cinnamon, spices, tortoise shells, ivories, and others, etc. All these influences, until today, reflects in our shared cultural similarities in many aspects, including language and food. And it is a testimony, even in my country, Tanzania, we have so many commonalities in terms of food. We have the Indian cuisine. We enjoy samosas, as the Vice Chancellor was trying to elaborate on how the African student can adapt to the environment, the Indian environment, and in terms of food. In Tanzania, Indian food, Indian cuisine is part and parcel of our life. And coming here, it's like a second home. We don't get homesickness because of food. Ever since Africa and India have continued to grow stronger and stronger, extending the relations from trade and investment, economic, maritime security, defense, social, political, multilateral forums such as United Nations, Non-Aligned Movement, Commonwealth, and others. and people-to-people contacts. India has a big diaspora community in Africa, estimated at around 3 billion people, spread across many countries, including Tanzania, Uganda, South Africa, Malawi, Kenya, Mozambique, Mauritius, and others. These communities are well integrated within the local societies, adopting to the culture of the locals, understanding them, and be able to make it through. The Indian diaspora contributed a lot to businesses and investment. And I would give you an example. In Tanzania alone, the Indian diaspora is estimated to be around 60,000 people who are well conversant of the Tanzanian culture and environment. And most of them engages in business and investment, which in turn contributes to the economy of the country in Tanzania and also in India. Africa is among the fastest growing continent over the years. And statistics shows that trade between India and Africa grew from US dollars 68.6 billion in 2011 to 2022 up to US dollars 89.6 billion in 2021 and 2022. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which came into effect in July 2021, paved way to market access of 1.4 billion people in Africa. This agreement is expected to bring positive impact on industrialization and improving economies of the continent for the sustainable development. This is a very good opportunity as it will enhance trade and investment, expanding exports and imports for the benefits of both India and Africa. However, Africa's quest for investment is still long overdue. Africa has abundant resources in terms of renewable and non-renewable natural resources. This includes, among others, fertile arable land with a huge chunks of arable land, natural gas, water bodies, minerals, wildlife, and many, many more. Africa needs investment in all these sectors. Taking into account that agriculture is the backbone of most of the African countries, it is therefore paramount that this sector is given big priority in terms of investment and its development. Investing in agriculture and food processing in African countries will increase in productivity, ensures food security, and add value for the exported products. And with this one, India is in a very better position to do that, given the fact that India has advanced more on agriculture and industries as well. So we would encourage Indian investors and Indian business people to take full advantage of this opportunity in this particular sector. In addition to that, sectors such as infrastructure, development, construction, and digitalization are key areas for enhancing investment ecosystems. The continent needs huge investment for inclusive, sustainable development. the African Union Agenda of 2063, which is a blueprint that provides a roadmap on the targeted achievement of transforming the continent into becoming economically powerful, is yet to be achieved at its fullest. India can play a big role in achieving this by accelerating its investment into the continent and share the achievement through a win-win situation. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping up with the changes in the new geopolitics dynamics, the quest for inclusive economic growth shared by common socio-economic interests and attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, India and Africa have continued to champion for the common cause on areas of mutual interest, including issues of climate change, resilience, food security, health, education, technological development, digital economy, capacity building, infrastructure, green energy, trade and investment, skill development, health, and many more. As the Vice Chancellor mentioned earlier, the 10 Kampala principles outlined by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, the commitment to further attainment of the same and thereby solidifying the existing relations. The Kampala principles explain vividly the intention of India to develop Africa on equal basis. Furthermore, the recent achievement attained during the G20 chairmanship of India in September 2023, which resulted into the inclusion of the African Union membership in the G20, is a major milestone of the continuing strengthening of these relations between relation of Africa and India. Africa will indeed remain grateful to India for this gesture. The India-Africa Forum Summit is another important platform for India-Africa engagement, especially in areas of mutual interest for sustainable development of the African continent. India has therefore a lot to offer, and so is Africa. The future ahead is very promising for both sides. Let us work together and use this opportunity fully for the betterment of tomorrow and our people. I thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Sri Puneet R. Kundal, Additional Secretary, Eastern and Southern Africa, Ministry of External Affairs, to deliver the keynote address. Sri Puneet R. Kundal joined Indian Foreign Service in 1996, and he had many distinguished postings, including Egypt, South Africa, Tunisia, and Washington, D.C. Sir, please.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh, Professor Sri Prakash Singh, Professor Gajinder Singh, Professor Payal Magu, Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of Tanzania, my friend Anissa Kapufi, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Sudan, the Ambassador of Libya, I see representatives from the High Commissions and the embassies of Lesotho, Ghana, South Africa. Very warm welcome to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, to be invited to speak on a topic which, like the Vice Chancellor explained, is an amalgamation of several concepts put together. Therefore, I prefer to speak extempore and just develop on these ideas what the Honorable Vice Chancellor said and what my friend High Commissioner said. I mean, if you look at the topic, I will stick to three broad streams of thought. First is, what is Africa? I think speaking to an audience like this, that should not be a difficult question, but I will still pose questions which will ask you, which will kind of force you to think what is exactly that we are discussing. Thereafter, I will shift to India-Africa relations on the broad contours of what we are and where we are and what we intend to do in the future. And then tell you why Africa. I mean, what does Africa mean for India? So with these three parameters, let me just start by asking some very basic questions. You know, when we talk of Africa, it brings forward images in your mind. Some people will think of huge fells plains, grassy plains with wildlife, sunsets, rivers, wildlife. For others, it is mines and minerals. For others, it is still poverty, backwardness, and so on. So Africa evokes images is the first thing that I want to put in front of you. Now, films have also not done justice to this, so whether it is Bollywood or it is Hollywood. I mean, if you look at Bollywood, you have films like Blood Diamond, you have Amistad, you have Coming to America, you have Black Panther, you have Congo, you have Tarzan. Now, all these project Africa in a certain particular way. As children, we would have read comics, Tarzan, Tintin in Congo. Again, you are reinforcing the concepts that we have grown up with. Or even today, those concepts continue to be drilled into our minds that there's a certain picture of Africa. But what exactly is Africa? Now, having been Consul General of India in Cape Town, which is the southernmost tip of Africa, it's called Cape Agulhas, to the Ambassador of India in Tunisia, which has the northernmost point of Africa in Cape Angela, I can certainly say with confidence it's a continent of 54 countries, which is 8,000 kilometers in from north to south. Now, if you look at the maps of the world, a traditional map of the world, which is based on the Mercator projections, shows Africa roughly the size of Greenland. You are with me on this. You've seen these maps. Greenland is shown like this, and Africa is shown a little bigger than that. But is that the fact? Africa as a continent is bigger than US, China, India, and Europe put together. And there's still space left after that. It's a huge continent. Now, these images, what I was talking about, were actually also helpful in a way in colonialism, because you had, for example, Congo, which is 1/84th the size of Congo. Belgium goes and colonizes a country 84 times its size. All these are perceptions that have been built and reinforced by the facts that are presented to you. I mean, even in India, come to think of it, you had at best 5,000 people from the UK ruling a country of 300 million at any point of time. So images matter, your perception of the self matters, and that is where the Honorable Vice Chancellor was saying about the perception of India in the world is changing, but so is the perception of Africa in the world changing. Now I tell you, Africa is a continent that is witnessing transformative change. Rising educational and health standards, increasing gender parity, expanding infrastructure and connectivity. In the year 2024, where we are now, 11 of the 20 fastest growing economies, please note that, that's more than 50%. 11 of the 20 fastest growing economies will be located in Africa. That is the picture of Africa that we really, the mold that we need to kind of get out of. The second flip side of that also is that 9 African countries continue to figure in the 10 poorest countries, and 33 of the world's 46 LDCs are still located in Africa. Now, Africa is also a continent which gets hit the worst by any kind of crisis that comes our way. Going back 300 years, colonialism. Coming to today, climate change. The one continent that is getting impacted the worst is Africa. Geopolitical factors also work towards, against Africa. So the moment you have a Russia conflict, a Russia-Ukraine conflict, the continent that gets impacted the most happens to be Africa. in 3 terms: food, fuel, and fertilizer. Food, there was a crisis of food because many of the countries in Africa, surprisingly even today, import up to 100% of their food from the Russia-Ukraine belt. Up to 100%. Djibouti, for example. Egypt was at 80%. There are many, many, many examples of this sort. Same thing for fuel, of course, petroleum, and fertilizer, because Russia was the largest producer and exporter of fertilizers. Therefore, what happens is that the thing gets reinforced, that what you have a problem in handling, you are exacerbating the problem by geopolitical factors which hit you the most. Now, it's also a fact of the matter that development paradigms need to be shifted, because the continent that needs the finances the most is Africa. But raising finances for Africa is extremely difficult. Netherlands or Germany will have no problems in getting money from international financial institutions because their credit ratings are high. But the moment you look for credit rating for African countries, your cost of borrowing, your cost of insurance immediately goes up. As high as 22% for sub-Saharan Africa, 15% in general for Africa, whereas for the Western countries it is less than 2%. Now, the countries that need finance the most are the ones get deprived of the most, is another tragedy of the entire question. So this is Africa where we are, a big continent of 54 countries with exceptionally good rates of growth, a population size which equals India, an economy that is almost the size of India. Let me tell you another interesting statistic. 1950, 10% of the world's population lived in Africa. 10%. 10% of the world's population lived in Africa in 1950. By 2050, this number is going to be 25%. What I'm saying is, 1 in 4 citizens of the world will live in Africa. Now, if you take a step back and think the demands of trade, geopolitics, consumable goods, mobile phones, textiles, where is the future headed towards? Europe, as we all know today, has more or less plateaued. We have a whole degree of questions being raised about growth in other countries, whether it is because of population pressures, whether it is because of the demographics, whether it is because of lack of natural resources. All these factors are on the positive in Africa. And therefore, if we say, if the department says, then if I say that Africa is the continent of the future, am I wrong in saying so? And I emphatically say, no, I'm not wrong. Because I've just proven to you statistically on where we are headed in where Africa is headed in this direction. The second aspect of it also, of course, is the political dimension, which I will come to later, and this is the coups that have taken place, etc., etc. But the reasons for that also if you again go back to colonialism, you have weak institutions, you have lawlessness, you have arms trade, you have mercenaries, you have narco traffickers, you have smugglers. But all this has to do with poor governance. It does not have to do with the fundamentals of any of the African countries. Each per square foot, per square meter, if you were to compare a Congo with a Japan, which is a more richer country? Of course it is Congo. You have platinum, you have diamonds, you have gold, you have cobalt, you have rare earth minerals, you have lanthanides, you have lithium, what have you, everything. Now, again, the demands of Africa will go up in the next decade with the rising population, with the rising aspirations of the people, with rising parameters. Africa will need close to $170 billion per year over the next 10 to 15 years. But Africa can only raise up to 70 billion internally. There's a clear shortfall of 100 billion. And within this shortfall of 100 billion, I'm going to place India. I'm going to place Africa's capability and capacity to borrow, or their inability and incapacity to borrow for multilateral institutions. And also donors like Turkey was spoken. There's China, there is UAE, there's Russia, there are others. It's that 100 billion gap per year that is the primary factor behind the other countries looking at Africa in whatever way we want to think of it. The Vice Chancellor, he very clearly said that our vision of Africa is a friendly relationship with coexistence, with friendly relations, no animosity. But there are countries who do not stand by these principles. And I'm not going to name any. We know who we are talking about. The dragon in the room never seems to go away, no matter where we go. The introduction of the African Continental Free Trade Area in 2021 aims at integrating the continent. It's a part of the Vision 2063. Now, the Vision 2063 is just not economic, it's just not social, it's the, let me just put it, it's the rough equivalent of the SDGs for Africa. But it also has physical infrastructure built into it. It talks of connecting all the capitals, it talks of the AFCFTA, it talks of infrastructure, it talks of self-sufficiency in energy, and so on. Now, all these factors, when you combine it, put together, you have a picture of Africa which is poised for takeoff. And therefore, I'm going to talk about where are we in India-Africa relations in this. India-Africa relations really, if you look at politically, are placed under the India-Africa Forum Summit. We've had 3 of these in 2008, 2011, 2015. I just was in Addis Ababa a week back to have discussions to find out when can we have the IAFS 4. Now, India-Africa partnership, again, if I was to kind of put it into silos, I would say it is based on 4 pillars. You have development partnership assistance and capacity building, what was spoken of by the High Commissioner. You have defense and maritime security. You have trade and investment. And then you have people-to-people ties. Development partnership assistance is a major part of our outreach to Africa. We have a portfolio of over $12.3 billion that is invested in Africa. We have built and delivered 206 projects. 65 projects are under execution and 81 are at a planning stage. Tanzania is one of the largest recipients of our development partnership program. It's the largest partner. Over $1.1 billion worth of lines of credit lie in Tanzania. Since 2015, we have also given about $700 million of grants. Now, I spoke of food issues related to food security in Africa last year. Then I can tell you that we have also given food to over 32 countries last year when there was an acute crisis of food. The Horn of Africa was suffering from a drought. There was a drought in the southern part of Africa. We gave food, whether on commercial terms or as a grant, as assistance, to over 32 countries all across the world, including in Africa, but the bulk of them were in Africa. Our vaccine Maitri is something that we should be really proud about. At a time when countries were stockpiling and hoarding vaccines, the only country that manufactured vaccines and opened its doors and actually delivered vaccines to Africa was India. 42 countries, we gave over 50 million vaccines. These are huge numbers. In my charge in East and Southern Africa, I handle 15 countries and I have traveled to all of them. I've had my Foreign Office consultations with each of the 15. And everywhere I go, I'm not surprised to hear my counterparts tell me, oh, I have an Indian vaccine in me. Because your vaccines, whether it was 1 million or it was 50,000, those vaccines formed the backbone of our vaccination program when nobody else, we didn't know where to look. Our vaccines were the first to arrive and our vaccines were the ones which defended those countries against the pandemic when it was at its worst. I mean, countries like Canada had stockpiled 6 times its population in vaccines within their borders, refusing to share those vaccines. We had companies that wanted liability clauses to be signed, waiving off all indemnities, and selling vaccines for $15 for a vaccine. We opened our doors and said, I have a link with Africa. I'm very happy to give vaccines, and I will give them to the best of my ability, absolutely free of cost. That defines India-Africa relations better than any other paradigm that can define these relations. Let me come to capacity building, education and capacity building. Just in the past 10 years, under the program that we call as the Indian Technical Economic Cooperation Program, we have trained over 37,000 people from Africa to come to India and undergo short-term courses, 1 to 3 months. It's under this program that we also send experts abroad, even on military trainings, civilian professors, teachers, scientists, to go and work in those countries. 37,000 people have actually come to India in the past 10 years, Africans. There are 25,000 students, sir, who study in India. African students who study in India. Some of them here are here on Government of India scholarships, but the bulk of them spend their own money and study in India. And I think that element is again something that we appreciate. He said they are our sons and daughters and their brothers and sisters. Yes, of course they are. There is just no doubt in our minds that we welcome these students to India because they are a part and parcel of our existence. I mean, they add richness to our existence in India. In the India-Africa Forum Summit of 2015, we promised 50,000 scholarships. We have delivered over 48,000. We are today distance learning, teaching, Madam Payal, for you. We are teaching under our, what we call as the E-Vidya Bharati. We are teaching 14,000 students in 27 universities across India from 22 countries. During the visit of the President of Kenya, we signed a MOU between IGNU and the Open Kenyan University. Again, your field. These are new areas that we are looking at. Now, if you look at, again, Government of India's policy, VC Sub spoke about that. Two things happened last year. One, the first public university to go out of India, let me repeat that, the first public university to go out of India was the National Forensic Science University. It went to Uganda, Jinja. That is a landmark. Then we had the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. It went and set up its campus where? In Tanzania, in Zanzibar. Again, the first campus of IIT to go out of India goes to Africa. Now, if we say that we don't pay attention to Africa, I think there is something wrong with that question itself, with that statement is wrong. On that, let me also share something more interesting. There is also, in this conference, there's also a wild side to things on our relationship. There's a wild element to that, and that is the cheetahs. We had the cheetahs from Namibia, we had the cheetahs from South Africa, and today we are negotiating with another country. I hope to tell you my next speech where we were going to get the next set of cheetahs. But even that element is there, that Africa was the only continent which gave us cheetahs for our reintroduction of cheetah program, which was launched by the Prime Minister on his birthday, 17th of September 2022. And I'm very happy to tell you that I released one of those cheetahs, which has now fathered the 3 cubs that have just been born. So I take pride in that as well. Sir, on trade and investment, I would like to update the information. High Commissioner, we have crossed 100 billion last year. Between India and Africa, the figure has crossed 100 billion. Our investment has crossed, sir, 75 billion. But these are Sarkari figures because the actual figure may just be double or triple of that because nobody wants to share information with the government, as we have realized the hard way. However, we are also open in trade. For the LDCs in Africa, we extend what is called as the duty-free tariff preference scheme, the DFTP scheme, under which 98.2 of our tariff lines are open to LDCs to export products to India. And we implore the African countries to make use of these tariff lines to increase their exports and take that figure from 100 to 200, 300. It's doable. We are growing, they are growing. There's no reason to say that we cannot increase our trade double or triple of what exists. Dependency of food, well, let me just not say dependency. The relationship of food is also, it goes both ways. If we have gifted or sold food to Africa, then we also import tur dal from Mozambique, from Malawi, from Tanzania. We also have a large number of Indian companies that have actually gone and invested in several African countries. Again, during the visit of the President of Kenya, we are now, the idea came about that we should actually grow food in Africa. VC sir mentioned about the 10 Uganda principles. Now, in one of those principles, the Prime Minister pointed out that Africa has 60% of the world's arable land. 60% of the world's arable land, but they produce only 8% of the world's food. Now, there is a mismatch here. If you have 60% of the world's land, but you're producing 8% of the food, then of course it is time for interventions. It's time for interventions from friendly countries like India. I was in Eswatini about 2 weeks back. One minor intervention from our side worth 15 million, sir, increased their maize production 6 times within a matter of 2 years. 6 times increase in maize production can take place just by a minor intervention of a 15 million. That is the kind of potential that Africa with its 60% of area, 60% arable land of the world offers us. And the best part is it is connected to us by the Indian Ocean. It's just a sail away. I will come to that in the people-to-people relations. People-to-people relations, High Commissioner mentioned about the Indian presence there. Let me take you even back. Let me take you to 1498. Vasco da Gama, quote unquote, discovered India. Excuse me, he discovered India? He went around the Cape of Good Hope. He reached Kenya, a place called Malindi, and a Gujarati sailor was sitting there. He told him, "Kahan jana hai?" Bole, "India jana hai." Bole, "Chalo, aapko le chalte hain. I'll take you there." And it took him from sorry sir, but the use of Hindi may kindly be forgiven for those who don't understand. He got him from Malindi in Kenya to India, Calicut in 23 days. Now that is the knowledge that the Indian sailors had of the Indian Ocean way back in 1498. On the way back, the man got adventurous. He said, "I'm going to go alone." He took 103 days and ended up in Mogadishu. That's Somalia. He had lost 2 of his ships out of the 4. He had lost his brother, and in anger he bombarded Mogadishu. When the Somalians got after him, and rightly so, he ran down to Mozambique, tried to make another pillar there. Because of the rains he failed, and then he went back into the familiar waters of the Antarctic and said, "Guys, I discovered India." Is India to be discovered? And we already were present. Who took you there in the very first place? And these are small questions that one must ask ourselves. The Indian diaspora in Africa today is 12% of our diaspora. It is in excess of 12 million. I take it back. 12% of Indian diaspora in excess of 3.5 million. Spread across all of Africa. Some of them are the old people who've shifted there, who live there, who've taken nationalities, and have risen on to become members of the parliament, ministers, ambassadors, people of eminence, judges. And then there is the new population, which we call as the NRIs, who are going across and have really taken over in the service industry, IT, hotel, restaurants, hotels, transportation, travel, tourism. Now, that is the kind of linkages that we have with Africa in terms of our people-to-people linkages. The fourth element I mentioned was defense and security. Now, defense and security also, if you think of it, that among the first countries who met the needs of Africa was India. We set up our first defense academies in Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. We had our training teams, military training teams, deployed in Botswana, Namibia, Uganda, Lesotho, Zambia, Mauritius, Seychelles, Tanzania, among others. And wherever we have withdrawn those teams, countries like Lesotho, the CDA is right here, I got a request from them that we need your team back because we need the Indian Armed Forces to discipline, to teach discipline, to train, to design post structures for us. So please send our teams back. That is something that we are working on. We have over 5,000 peacekeepers all across Africa. There are lives at stake there. We lost lives in Goma in Congo last year, the peacekeepers. There are 5,000 lives at stake at any point of time, which are Indians under the blue helmets who are staking their lives for the peace and security of the continent. Isn't that another dimension of our relationship? We are also the first responder. When a storm hit Madagascar, we were the first to respond. When a storm hit Malawi, it was called Freddy last year, we sent relief material to Malawi. When we had cholera in Zambia, we sent relief material to Zambia last month. These are the kind of connections that I really, and these are just not to people, these are to do with political relations, these have to do with our links that we have with these countries. On the defense cooperation, we now have an institutionalized defense cooperation. We've had 2 rounds of talks at the ministerial level. The first round was held in 2020 in Lucknow, and the second was held in Gandhinagar in 2022. We have also gifted ships to Mozambique. Now, Mozambique is a very interesting country. It's one of the strategic partners. Mozambique has, Indian companies have invested over $10 billion in gas sector in Mozambique. Now, they have a problem in the Cabo Delgado region, which is the northern province of Islamic fundamentalism, and work stopped in March 2021. We have gifted them 4 ships, fast patrol boats. They're called fast interceptor boats. And those boats they are now using to control the militancy in that area. The French also gifted them 3 ships. The ships worked fine for about 6 months. The 7th month, they've been parked in the harbor. Our ships have been doing their job because our ships are designed for Africa. Now, this is the defense relationship I'm pointing out, that once you look at your market, you are talking of $5 billion to be in exports in defense sector. What is the most ready-made market for you? But of course it is Africa. Because the level of technology, our products are made, tried, tested in India, and obviously they are successful in Africa because the working conditions that we have are more or less the same. The heat, the humidity, the dust, they all replicate each other. The European weapons fail because they are not used to dust, they are not used to heat, they are not used to humidity. Our weapons are pretty much okay in all these factors. Africa also fits in our vision of the Indo-Pacific. Our vision of Indo-Pacific extends from the eastern coast of Africa to the western coast of US, India, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. Now, if you look at the littoral states of Africa, South Africa, Mozambique, Kenya, Tanzania, we have very good relations with them. Our ships go for regular OTRs there, the operational turnarounds. During the visit of the president of Kenya, we brought out a vision document which aligns with our vision of the Indo-Pacific, what we call as the SAGAR, the security and growth for all in the region. It was PM's vision for the region. This we call it the Bahari, which is the Swahili word for ocean again. So again, we are building these relationships with the littoral states because the Indian Ocean at the end of the day is our ocean. There is no other ocean that's named after another country. In fact, year before last, while I was undergoing training, one of our admirals, he spoke and he said that initially when we used to have these Western warships that would cross the Suez Canal and enter the Indian Ocean from the Bab el-Mandeb, we would say, welcome to our waters. And it caused a lot of consternation. You know, what is this our waters that you're talking about? But I think over a period of time, there is an understanding that the Indian Ocean, especially the Western Indian Ocean, is our waters. This is a part of the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is named after India. Therefore, India with Africa naturally become just not the custodians, but the guarantors of peace and security in this part of the oceans. And that gels in with us with our Indo-Pacific policy. It also gels with our policy of Bahari and also perfectly seamlessly fits into our policy of Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region. The multilateral cooperation has also been spoken about, the permanent membership of the AU in the G20. We also got 2 African states, which is Ethiopia and Egypt, into the BRICS. Again, a forum that we were a founding members of in 2001. We were cardinally involved in getting African states into BRICS. We also have 44 of the 116 members of the International Solar Alliance from Africa who are a part of our this matrix. I will just take 5 more minutes and just give you why Africa, which is the third stream, and it builds into the building the future together, why Africa. And I will give you 5 small cases. Without elaborating, I'll give you 5 situations. 1, world power status. Prime Minister has given the vision that India should be a developed country by 2047. Now, to be a developed country, we also have to have commensurate respect and authority in the world. We need world power status. 54 countries of the world out of the 190 odd are located in Africa. It's one vote, one country. One country, one vote. For us to reach anywhere in the world, anywhere in the hierarchy of the Committee of Nations, each vote is important. It doesn't matter where the vote comes from. But when you have more than 25, it's actually 27. When 27% of your votes lie in Africa, Africa becomes your natural ally. I have no doubt in my mind on that. I mentioned about food security, 1.4 billion people. I'm speaking to experts who would appreciate that the Green Revolution is more or less peaking out, and unless we really have a transformative influence, we may be kind of land is running out, our productivity yields have kind of, are touching the roof. And therefore, Africa, 60% of land, 8% of the food production, is an automatic partner for us because we are not ensuring food security for them. We are ensuring food security for us. And that is why investment in the field of agriculture, which the High Commissioner spoke about, is extremely important for us. It's not for you, it's for us. That's the difference which we speak about. Market for Indian goods and services. I did mention 1 in 4 citizens of the world is going to be African by 2050, and 2050 will be within our lifetimes. Now, a market for Indian goods. Today, if you look at our exports, roughly we have about 1.9%. It's less than 2% of the world's goods exports. In services, we are a little higher. We are at about 4%, 5%. Goods constitute about 80% of your world's traffic. Services is only about 20%. Now, if we are to become a manufacturing hub, we will need a market. And of course, that market is right across the Indian Ocean, and the market is called Africa. This is the third element. The fourth, which we have spoken about, is rare earth elements, is metals, minerals, energy, which are self-explanatory. I don't even have to speak about that. What about Indian pharmacy? India, we take pride in being called the pharmacy of the world. Indian pharmacopoeia, for the knowledge of those who don't know, is the third largest pharmacopoeia in the world. The largest being the US, second largest being UK, and India being the third largest. With a lot of effort in the past few years, when we have decided that let me take a step back. Early part of this century, my colleague from South Africa will bear me out, we were spending $70 a day to cure an AIDS patient which was running rampant in southern part of Africa. Enter Indian generics, and we brought down the cost of treatment from $70 a day to $1 a day. And today those rates have fallen dramatically. The rate of new infections and the rate of cures on the ARVs have fallen dramatically because of Indian generics. Now, Indian generics are important for us because they are the bulk of our production. 40% of the US's generics come from India, 70% of the UK's generics come from India. The 70% of the WHO's generics come from India, and Africa is the market for us to promote Indian pharmacopoeia. And I'm happy to say that today Indian pharmacopoeia is recognized by 5 countries in the world, out of which there is 1 in Africa, which is Ghana, and discussions are presently underway for another country, which I hope I'll be able to tell you very soon. We also have a very good strength in our software, the entire digital stack as we call it. I'm happy to share with you that our UPIs and our Aadhaar cards and our banking models and our Jan Dhan schemes have found resonance in Africa. At least 9 countries from Africa are today discussing with us on an Aadhaar card kind of a model. There are at least 5 countries who are discussing UPI and taking UPI in one form or the other, whether they call it instant payment system or they call it unified payment interface. They are looking at implementation of our models there because they see value in that. And that is the next element I want to say, that we add value by our presence in Africa, just as Africa adds value by accepting those models, because once they find traction in one place, then automatically it's easy to replicate them in the other places. What is the path ahead for us? These are the 5 things that I pointed out. What is the path ahead for us? The path ahead for us, of course, is to make sure that we have nimble-footed diplomacy without overcommitting ourselves. I have no hesitation in saying that there have been times where we have overcommitted ourselves and then we've not been able to deliver on them, and then it has caused us some amount of red-faced approach. However, we have to be sure that what we do in Africa today gels in with the requirements of Africa. It is just not the needs. It's also the aspirations of Africa that our nimble-footed diplomacy has to meet. And I'm happy to say that the Ministry of External Affairs under Dr. Jaishankar and the guidance of Prime Minister is giving us that guidance that our nimble-footed diplomacy has just not to address the needs of Africa, but also address the aspirations of the continent. VC Saab mentioned about the 10 guiding principles. There is the element of food, there is the element of education. I mentioned about IIT, I mentioned about the National Forensic Science University, I mentioned about the students studying here. But do we know that we all know Africa without even knowing that we know Africa? I began by saying, what is Africa? But now let me close by saying, we all know Africa without even knowing that we know Africa. Once I mention names, if I say Julius Nyerere, if I say Kenneth Kaunda, if I say Nelson Mandela, if I say Hastings Banda, if I say Habib Bourguiba, none of these names are unknown to you. I mean, the list could go on. Because all these people have been associated with our freedom movement. Many of them have drawn inspiration from the Indian freedom movement. India was the first country in 1947 to get independence. And if you look at between 47 and say between 1975 being Mozambique, you had all the countries in Africa gain independence. That is the kind of relationship which we need to talk about. That the freedom movements of Africa have just not been inspired. The starting point was India. We all know there is an Africa Avenue. We have passed Africa Avenue so many times. We all know there's a Nelson Mandela mark. We passed that road so many times. There are so many roads that are named after leaders. We also have an India-Africa Friendship Garden located right in Chanakyapuri. But most important, when we look around our university campuses, we find people from Africa who are a part of our existence. And that is the bottom line. I leave you with those ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very informative speech. Now, I'd like to invite Dr. Manish Karmar, sir, from the Department of African Studies for the vote of thanks.
What an afternoon where academia, the government of India through Sir, and the Africa through her High Commissioner Tanzania met here under the umbrella of Vice Chancellor Legal Hall. So it's a really memorable and wonderful evening for everyone. Thank you very much. So I, Dr. Manish Karmar, on the behalf of Department of African Studies, faculties, students, take immense pleasure in extending a warm vote of thanks to all who have contributed to collaborative success of today's session. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our chief guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh sir, for his insightful remarks, for setting a tone for this conference. Your words have not only inspired us, but also charted a path of future engagements. So last year, I had a notion that you talked about the Gandhi and goat, Gandhi and Bakri, exact word, and this year you talked about the traditions, food, but ultimately it's a assimilation. How we assimilate Africans to the India. So thank you very much, sir, for having us, Department of African Studies. So now moving towards sincere gratitude to His Excellency Mrs. Anissa K. Mabenga, High Commissioner of the United Republic of Tanzania to India, for her enlightening speech, has enriched our knowledge, paved the way of future. Ma'am, you talked about the 3 million diaspora, and you raised so many questions, so many aspirations before us. So thank you very much for coming here and giving us this kind of knowledge. And now you are the part of Department of African Studies. Welcome, ma'am, in the Delhi University. Thank you. So, and eventually this is a wonderful evening, or so we call afternoon, with Sri Puneet R. Kundal, sir. You posed so many questions, and he has given a very point-to-point argumentative answer. So, sir, thank you very much for your enlightenment. Give us a sense of India and Africa. Our Vice Chancellor, sir, our Dean of Colleges, are very curious to understand Africa, and this is really very interesting that how you portray the Africa. And our department motto also that we enhance towards the Afrocentrism, and definitely for all African delegates, we assure that moving ahead the era of India-Africa, commitment and commandment. So thank you, sir, for coming here. Now we like to thank Professor Sri Prakash Singh, sir, Director South Campus, University of Delhi, with us, whose presence has significantly contributed to the gravity of our gathering. And sir has presented first time in this kind of seminar in the Department of African Studies. Thank you, sir, for for gracing us. Okay, and we are honored by presenting Professor Payal Magu ma'am, Director Campus of Open Learning, University of Delhi, whose role as our guest of honor has greatly enhanced the prestige of our conference. Thank you very much, ma'am. And also you include Department of African Studies program to your Open Learning. So thank you, ma'am, for coming here. Now I would like to acknowledge our advisors, Professor Senior Faculty, Professor Suresh Kumar, Professor Yadvingam sir, and their invaluable guidance to every time towards me or to my scholars. I humbly, by giving them thanks for a code of heart. And two of our conveners, Dr. Rasmi Kapoor, Dr. Sandeep Nida, thank you, ma'am, and Dr. Das for giving us valuable ideas. But the most important thing, without thanking our whole team of scholars, those who are present here, and they are giving us a very big movement like this. Thank you, my scholars and my MA students. So, and I will call them explorers. Explorers. So you told that how explore in India. So they are the explorers. How we regain commitment between India and Africa. We express our gratitude to all administrative staffs, officers, deans, principal of various colleges, respected heads of department, faculty members, scholars. A special thanks to Dean Faculty of Music and their team for exceptional instrumental and vocal performance. Thank you very much. We would also like to extend our appreciation to the entire team of General Branch, Finance Branch, DUCC, Guardian Committee, and Engineering Department for their excellent support and assistance. Thank you very much. And not last, we extend our deepest gratitude to the respected representative from South Sudan, Mali, Ghana, Algeria, Ethiopia, Libya, Sudan, Lesotho, Mauritius, and South Africa for gracing their presence. Thank you very much all that you are coming here and gracing this. This is one of the biggest arrangement because we have in numbers of leaders and ambassadors. But thank you very much for coming and gracing this occasion. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the last thing, एक कपलेट कह के ख़त्म करता हूँ अपने डिपार्टमेंट के बारे में और इंडिया अफ्रीका रिलेशंस के बारे में. लास्ट में मैंने 2 लाइन बोले थे, आज मैं 6 लाइन बोलूँगा. हौसले जिंदगी के देखते हैं, चलिए कुछ रोज जी के देखते हैं. नींद पिछली सदी के जख्मी हैं, ख्वाब अगली सदी के देखते हैं. रोज हम एक अंधेरी धुंध के पार काफिले रोशनी के देखते हैं. कुछ देर की खामोशी है, इंडिया अफ्रीका रिलेशन, कुछ देर की खामोशी है, फिर शोर आएगा. तुम्हारा तो वक्त आया है, हमारा दौर आएगा. थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर हैविंग मी. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. Now I request you all to please stand up for the national anthem.
शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा. जय गण मंगल दायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता. जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे.
Thank you, everyone. Now you all are requested to join us for refreshments arranged outside towards your left. Thank you. I request all the faculty members and the organizing committee members of Department of African Studies to please come on the dais for a group photo.